though some other clients are looking at purchasing a 30-acre property that has a lot of poison ivy and Virginia creeper vine all through the woods. So a somewhat easy remedy to that is you fence it off and you turn goats loose. Goats will eat all of that.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is The Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Welcome back to The Closing Table. Hey, beautiful. My name is Kevin C. McIntosh. I am your host. And joining us on this episode, of course, we have the pleasure of speaking with another top producing real estate agent representing her market. Welcome, Kristy Brooks. How are you, Kristy?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. We really do value your time, and we want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be a guest on the podcast. We appreciate that. Kristy, we are here to talk business, real estate specifically in your market, but let's loosen it up a little bit, right? Got an icebreaker for you, Kristy. It's called word association.
Okay.
Got a couple words all related to real estate. I need you to give me the first thought that comes to your mind that's associated with these, whether that's a corresponding word, definition, sentence, story, whatever the case may be. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do this. All right, first one, purchase agreement.
Exciting.
I would agree. Escrow.
Ooh, what are we holding back? What type of escrow? What are we doing? Or if you're in other states, escrow can be what we call title underwriting sort of thing. So, but usually escrow, I'm thinking we're escrowing funds for either a well and septic if you're in a point of sale county, or escrowing funds for somebody who's doing an occupancy and we're doing a possible damage escrow sort of thing.
Okay. I like that. That's a new perspective. Next one, quit claim deed.
Give me a quick signature and we got another name on that deed.
Okay. Homeowners Association.
Possibly a headache.
Ooh.
Depends.
I'm going to keep a mental note on that.
Yeah, depends on how you like to live.
Okay. I can see that. Last one, commission.
A paycheck, and sometimes a long-awaited paycheck, and sometimes for a client, their association with that can be a dirty word. They might have had a bad experience with a past agent. I try very hard to make sure my clients are satisfied, whether that means I end up with a commission at the end, or if we need to walk away from a deal and find something better, that's what we're going to do, because it's always about the client getting what they need.
100%. I agree. Well played, Kristy. Thank you for starting off a little on the cooler side with our icebreaker. We appreciate that. Now, if you can for us, please give us a little bit of insight into your life in 60 seconds or less. Tell us, who is Kristy Brooks outside of real estate?
Multifaceted. I have a lot of interests. What most people know about me is I grew up in the show horse industry. I traveled the country with my mom, mostly my mom, but traveled the country showing horses on a national level, won a couple national championships and other national
Congratulations.
awards. Thank you. So very strong in the show horse and farm community. MSU graduate, worked for a few years for Pfizer Animal Health.
Go green.
Yes, go green. But I always bounced between science and entrepreneurship. And my family is involved in many different areas of building and just the home property industry. So real estate had always been a pull. And a friend of mine's dad, while I was working at Pfizer, he was a broker in Ohio. And he had said, have you ever thought about real estate? I really think you could excel at this. You have a lot of the skills that we need. And I said, funny, I actually have thought about it. And it just went from there. I was licensed in 2013 and been going ever since.
A decade in, doing great, by the way. We love to hear that. Great story. Thank you, Kristy. All right. Okay. So now let's talk about where you're doing your business with that being said. This is a two-part kind of like question. I want you to describe your market. More importantly, for people who may have never been to your market. So give as much details geographically first and foremost.
Okay.
And then let's get into some of the economics in regards to what's going on with real estate in your market.
Yeah, no problem. So I have a pretty wide, I would say a pretty wide area that I travel. Now, if you don't know, agents are licensed by state. So in all technicality, if I want to
Mm-hmm.
go up to Copper Harbor and sell, I can. But obviously that doesn't make sense. I primarily am working, I say the 127 corridor from like Leslie, which is about 20 minutes south of Lansing. So that
Mm-hmm.
127 corridor head up to probably as far north as St. John's. I have done
Okay.
a fair amount in St. John's. And then over east into the Howell, Brighton, South Lyon sort of area. Um, my more residential type clients, I'm going to stay a little bit closer to that 127 corridor and up over to like the Hazlitt Bath sort of area. But I
Mm-hmm.
work a lot with rural and equestrian properties because of my background with the horses. So
Gotcha.
those sorts of properties, I'm going to travel pretty much as far as my clients need me to because those are pretty specific properties.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
So,
absolutely.
um,
Okay.
yeah. And I was just going to say, on there, when I do have clients that maybe like say, I have some up towards Traverse City, then
Mm-hmm.
I have colleagues that I work back and forth with, and I'll refer clients up to an agent that I know is doing top-notch work in those areas.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I've lived in Michigan my entire life. And I've been in different parts also: Kalamazoo, South Haven, Grand Rapids, Lansing, obviously Detroit, Ypsilanti. And what I can say is, in between some of these major cities or these known cities, is a lot of rural land. There's a lot of country land and farmland and things of that nature. So it may seem like a very niche market, but if you ask me, I think that's probably like the majority of what's pretty much going on in a lot of the spaces in Michigan. So I
Yeah.
think you have great ground to cover with that being said. And I want to ask you, because you're out at these rural properties, I feel like you may get a different look at what's going on at these properties. So I'm leading into my question of saying, what's one of the weirdest, strangest, or unconventional things that you've seen at one of these properties?
Well, there was a property. It was an old farmhouse. We get into a lot of these old farmhouses originally built in the
Mm-hmm.
1800s, and we've
Mm-hmm.
added on to them over the years. One that would come to mind right away was I know it was built as a storm shelter. You think like a tornado type shelter.
Right,
But
right.
when you're out walking in the back 40 acres, well, this would have been in the back 5 acres, and there is a door in the ground that lifts up. And my clients are like, "Are you going to go in there?" And I'm like, "Heck no, I'm not going in there." Like, not that I think that there's anything necessarily dangerous down in there, but I'm assuming there's going to be probably a snake or two, probably some mice or
Possible,
woodchucks or whatever.
possible.
But I mean, it was you pulled open this metal door, and there's concrete stairs down into the dark. And I shined my flashlight down in there, and I could see they had some like there was some old canned food and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
there you
definitely
go.
a tornado shelter, but holy cow, we just don't have many of those in Michigan. That's more
I
a
know.
tornado
That's
alley thing.
right, right. That seemed like a movie or cartoon. I'm gonna
Yeah.
be honest. Every time I've seen one of those in like a movie or cartoon, I'm like, I want one of those. That would come in handy for like some of the crazy. Not to say that we get crazy things every day, but that just in case, that in the back of my mind, bunch of water, bunch of canned food, nice
Yep.
little bomb shelter underground. That's pretty nice, actually. That's actually pretty nice. That's what I want in my property. So interesting, interesting.
Yeah. Um, I would say one of the other things though that I've seen was coal still in a coal room. So back in the day when
Really.
folks had, coal heated furnaces,
Yeah.
And fun little tidbit, if you don't know this, typically a coal room or the coal chute is always going to be on the side of the basement that the driveway is, because your coal delivery guy would pull up, open the outside chute, dump your coal in, and then leave. So
Uh,
I did have a client. We were looking at a house. He did end up buying, very cool old house. But we went down and opened. I said, "Oh, it's probably the coal room." I open it, and there was still about 12 inches of coal on the floor in the coal room. So
wow.
I have no idea how many decades ago that was put there, but
Yeah.
I'm like, have fun getting that out.
Man, yeah. I mean, you got to imagine a lot of these homes are still around. A lot of these homes are still around where you had to have those, the coal rooms and the you throw the wood in the furnace and the
Yeah.
coal and you got the oh my goodness, that's very, very interesting. But it's kind of like a time machine in a way. It kind of just gives you a good timestamp as to how people used to live and how we've come since then too. So you looking at these properties, you getting a chance to have a firsthand look at some of these properties too. Such an interesting lifestyle. I love to hear about those type of stories.
Yeah.
Let's get into a different type of situation.
Okay.
Not sure if you've dealt with this, but I would imagine you have after 10 years. Difficult or demanding clients. Have you ever had to deal with this? And can you talk about a situation where you've dealt with it and manage your way through it professionally to get it resolved?
Absolutely. So, in life in general, there are some folks that are maybe a little bit, I don't even want to use the word difficult, because I always say our job as real estate agents is to solve problems. People have a problem, they need a solution. That's my job, figure out the solution. And it usually stems from a client being difficult or demanding. It usually stems from a problem that they can't see the solution to just yet. And so that's my job to figure that out. I always like to give, hey, let's look at option A, B, and C so that we're prepared in case option A doesn't work out. So that could be, a lot of times I have clients that are trying to move from one farm to another farm. They might not have immediate occupancy. So they're looking at their animals that they need to move. And this isn't a dog or a cat. This might be 10 head of horses, 20 head of cattle. So we look at, okay, first option would be that we get occupancy at the new place first, and we can move animals while we get the old place sold. If that's not an option, then we're going to look around and say, can we lease some stalls? Can we board these horses for a few weeks or a month? Does somebody have a pasture we can turn this cattle out on until we can get them to the new place?
Right.
Third option is I'm like, maybe we need occupancy for the animals at the old house until we can get to the new place. So those difficult and demanding clients, I would tell any new agent, don't respond immediately. Take a breath, collect your thoughts, get some options ready to discuss, then go back to your client and say, option A, B, C, what do we think?
Right. Yeah. See, it's so crazy because in a past life, I was a delivery driver. And I was a delivery driver in some of these very rural areas in Michigan. So I would pull up to a place with the driveway is so long. When you pull into the driveway, the map says it's still 3 minutes until you get to the property. It's like, whoa. But then you get there, there's chickens on the road, there's cows, there's horses, llama, things that I would never think I would see at a regular home. But that's part of moving also. Like, it's not like a regular dog or furniture. Like, you have actual animals, livestock that has to have certain conditions, certain places of shelter that they have to be. So you have to factor that into something I've never thought about. never thought about. But as a real estate agent, you have to keep all that in mind. So it's just so many additional moving parts that you have to deal with. And I could imagine. So do you have like a lot of clients that get frustrated with the process being so difficult that they kind of put that pressure on you, or because of your experience, are you more in tune with finding solutions a lot earlier, that type of situation?
When I was a new agent, I took on all of my clients' stress. I took everything on, and it's like any job. As you learn it and you get better at it. And yes, because of my connections within the horse industry and the livestock industry, it's a little bit easier for me to offer solutions. I've had a few friends that have used an agent over the years that was not livestock savvy. And of course, I'm thinking, number one, why are you doing that? But then, but it makes it that much harder for them. It makes it that much harder for the client to figure out how to negotiate that. But it's something you're going to learn. And as long as you're in a really great brokerage, you're going to have the support to just ask questions and figure out how to do it. Nobody knows how to do every aspect of their job on day one. That's crazy.
Good point.
That's just crazy. So here at Keller Williams, just a plug for the brokerage, but Keller Williams is fantastic. With helping clients or with helping agents. I had previously been in another brokerage that it was not bad. I mean, it wasn't horrible or anything like that, but coming to Keller Williams and being able to see what they offer here, support wise and education wise, was just mind blowing. So I will never be leaving here. I will be here for forever.
There you go. I love to hear that. So it seems like you kind of leaned on your brokerage and your company as a resource to kind of help you navigate some of those issues that you may not have been familiar with or experienced.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Love to hear that. Love to hear that. While we are in the subject of rural land and rural properties, most rural properties have large amounts of land or connected to the properties. But have you ever encountered an unexpected or surprising issue related to zoning or land use restrictions in these rural areas? And can you talk about any stories?
Oh yeah, there's everybody wants to know what's the zoning out here and what is this and how many animals can I have? And it is different every single township.
Right.
I am on a first name basis with most every zoning officer in lower central Michigan. So the best advice I can give to a client or an agent is, number one, it is ultimately the buyer, the client's responsibility to call and verify what animals and what land use they can do. Now, as a good agent, I am going to be following up and verifying, making sure that that's correct.
Right.
There are some townships that they'll say like, an acre and a half for the first class 2 animal, like a horse or a cow. And then, an acre for each additional animal. There are other townships that you can have 10 head of horses on 3 acres, but they just say you have to maintain the property. You can't become a nuisance to the community. So knowing those things will make your job a little bit easier when someone sends you a property and says, I love this place, I want to buy it. And I'm like, well, you have 20 head of horses and this is 4 acres. You can't do that here. And knowing that you can call and verify with the township. Then I have my outdoorsmen that want to buy hunting land or recreational land. A lot of times we run across these wetland conservancies, and that property is going to be valued quite a bit lower for a client to purchase because of that conservancy. Basically what it means is, yeah, you can go out and enjoy the property, but you can't be mowing, you can't be cutting down trees. It's in a conservancy, because wetlands, we need to conserve those. So they don't want you doing anything to the land that would reduce or diminish or demolish the wetland. So
got it.
I get these hunters that are like, I'm going to buy this parcel of land and it's so much cheaper than, this other parcel because it's in a wetland conservancy. But depending on the terms that are individual, they might not be able to mow paths for their ATVs. They might not be able to build tree stands. So you really have to go through those with a fine-tooth comb.
That's a good point. And I like how you started off that with a disclaimer that it's ultimately the buyer's responsibility, but a great agent would actually be in that position to help and assist and make sure all of that is done. The I's are crossed and the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. So I love that perspective. And coming from someone who hasn't necessarily been in that world, this is new information for me and our audience too, if anyone is interested in those type of properties and rural properties. So thank you for that information, Kristy. I mean, that's the type of stuff, like I say, I see, you drive past and you might see these properties, but you have no idea what goes into like the purchasing and the maintaining and the regulations of that type of property. Very, very interesting right there. You talk about please continue.
I was just going to say some of the other for buyer agents and for buyers, just a couple other little caveats that they really don't think about. Every township again is different, but auxiliary building. So somebody says, I want to build a pole barn. The house is set way back off the road. I'm going to build a pole barn up front and fence up front, put pasture up front. Some townships do not allow auxiliary buildings or livestock fencing in front of the dwelling. Some of them require it to only be level with the house or behind the house. So you might be able to have, like I just call it a picket fence. You might be able to have a picket fence up front, but you cannot have livestock fencing or the barn or manure management. Nobody wants to think about manure management, but you have, animals that are large output. You need to make sure you have an appropriate way to dispose of that. So those are my other things. I always, when I see a house on 30 acres right at the front by the road, and someone says, I'm going to put a barn right here. I'm like, you might not be able to.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's another thing I don't think too much about, but yeah, oftentimes you definitely see the barn behind a home somewhere. And I would imagine most cases that is the requirement. But in a rare case, I have seen a barn in front of a home. And that is kind of different to say. So I now have to see those and actually keep a note whenever I see that. Oh, they're allowed to do this. Oh, they're not allowed to do that type of thing. So I love the knowledge that you're giving us today on that, Kristy. We are learning. So I want to ask you about a scenario where maybe you set an expectation for selling a client's home within a certain timeline, but for some reason, outside factors beyond your control, or maybe within your control, it just didn't sell within that time frame. Do you have any stories or situations you can share where that has happened and how you kind of got through it, please?
Oh, sure. Typically, if a property does not sell in the timeline that you think it should, it's usually pricing. And it's really easy to look at a house, and when you have enough knowledge to look at a house and be like, oh, that's a 350 house or that's a 400 house. And you look at a house and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so overpriced. Why did the agent price it that high? It might not always be the agent. They might have had a client that said, nope, I want this amount for my house. Especially this market we're in, most homes are still selling multiple offers over list price. It is not like it was 10 years ago where we priced at 350 hoping to get 320. It's very typically price. And I did have that. I really want to please my clients, and I let one a while ago, won't go into detail. I let one kind of walk all over me because I wanted to make them happy. And the property was priced. I mean, it was a higher priced property, but honestly, it was priced about $150,000 over what I recommended.
Whoa.
Yes. It was overpriced. Now you're thinking, Kristy, why would you let him do that? My thought process was, I had a conversation with him. I said, if we do not have the offers, the showings that I would expect in this market, within the first 2 weeks, we're going to do a price reduction. Deal? He was like, yep, deal. That 2 weeks came around. He said, let it go another 2 weeks. I said, okay. So I let it go another 2 weeks, and he kept refusing to do a price reduction.
Oh, my goodness.
Finally let me do a price reduction of much less than it needed to be reduced. So we did a price reduction, but it still was nowhere near where it was valued at. And the property ended up not selling. And I think it, put a bit of a bad taste in each of our mouths for each other. I did see another fantastic agent come in, priced it appropriately, and it sold appropriately. You know, and that's a hard pill to swallow, but
Yeah.
that's bad on me. I knew where it should have been priced at, and it sold for where I recommended it be priced at.
Oh, no, no, no. So, oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, that would hurt. That would sting.
Yeah.
That would sting. Yeah, the fact that you work this whole time with this person, they don't take your recommendation, and then they work with someone else and literally goes to the price that you initially suggested.
Yes.
Oh, Kristy, you are a better woman than I am, a person or a man, because I don't know how I would. Oh, that would make my blood itch. But you're the professional. You know, you learn from that
Yes.
situation. Matter of fact, explain what you learned from that exactly.
You need to stand your ground on what you know. I am the professional. There is a reason I've been doing this for 10 years. There is a reason clients come to me, and I really needed to stand my ground. And if that client was not going to listen to me, I really should have walked away, because in the end, you know, I had a lot of money sunk into marketing, professional photos, all that. Window Still did a fantastic job on our photos. You know, that's a lot of time and effort, and a lot of stress on my end trying to produce for the client.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, very, very unfortunate, because I mean, outside of the money, it's a lot of time too that you don't get back. But it's part of the game, unfortunately. But like you said, you learn, and you take that learning lesson and you apply it going forward, so that you don't make that same mistake again. And you also pass that knowledge on to other agents so that they can learn also. So we appreciate that first and foremost. See, I know that situation will be a little bit different, but let's say you're working with someone, they take your price suggestion, and this is a listing, right? And they take your price suggestion. Everything seems to be going smooth, but you get to the closing table, and then something happens to where it either gets pushed back or it just doesn't close at all. Do you have any situations where that may have happened, either due to your account or some other factors that you can't control? And how did you get past that situation?
Yeah, I've definitely had ones. Now, knock on wood, I have not had one fall apart yet at the closing table. Okay. And I only say yet because you're in this business long enough, stuff happens. You're dealing with multiple personalities, and stuff will happen. Try our best not to, but push back, definitely. So I had one recently where had some communication difficulties with the title company. The payoff for my seller had not come through yet. There was questions as to who did not provide a payoff soon enough. We all have paper trails. At that point, I don't care. I'm solution focused. What do we need to do to make this happen? So we got to the table, and we had, 24 hours prior, we were good to go. We're going to escrow. There's that word again. We're going to escrow a certain amount of money, hold back for the payoff that we're expecting it to be. We get to the closing table, and our closer says, okay, so we're escrowing this amount back, which was about double of what we had previously discussed the day before. And my seller put the pen down and said, that's incorrect, and we need to figure this out, and I will escrow this amount. Otherwise, we will not close today. And, I absolutely had my sellers back and said, who do I need to call, or are you calling? What needs to happen? Let's get this fixed. So that one was only delayed about 30 minutes. But
okay.
That was fantastic.
Good job. Look at you. Good job.
We got that back on track. I did have another one delayed quite a bit for a storm. Tree fell on the garage, smashed the garage.
Oh, no.
Yeah, a few days before closing.
Oh my God. Oh my
So
goodness. What happens in that situation?
that one's really not too bad. So home I know it's not too bad. Homeowners insurance, you call your homeowners insurance, let them know what's
Okay.
going on. So you can typically give the option of either, it depends if the buyer's lender is okay with it, but we can move forward with closing, and the seller's homeowner's insurance
Right.
has their bid. They'll take care of it, or we can delay closing, let it get fixed, and then we'll close after it's been fixed.
Okay.
So,
Okay, that makes sense.
but it is a freak out moment to get that call.
Yeah, because I'm looking like right in between a transaction, like who's gonna fix this? Oh my goodness. Okay, good. Thank goodness for insurance.
Yes.
Sometimes. Okay, good. I want to go back real quick about the livestock. Because I don't know. This is where you would help me in our audience. I believe owning livestock provides you with some type of benefits as a homeowner, tax benefits or something. I'm pretty sure there may be other benefits, but can you speak on the benefits of a homeowner owning livestock on their property? And has there ever been an instance where you convinced a client to actually get some livestock for their property for the benefits?
So there can be, if you have it set up as an LLC, obviously we need to keep everything on the up and up for the IRS and all that other sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have an LLC, there's lots of little cottage industries, if you will, that you can run. I have a client right now that has a 501c rescue. So she has some horses, there's some cattle, a couple potbelly pigs, and she has started to host, I think she calls it Cow's Charcuterie and Champagne, where she invites out the general public. I'm going to say the general public, but friends and friends of friends, invites them to
Mm-hmm.
come out and just disconnect from the world that's going on and come pet cows and horses and potbelly pigs and sip a little
Nice.
bubbly and just relax.
Nice.
Um, I did, though some other clients are looking at purchasing a 30-acre property that has a lot of poison ivy and Virginia creeper vine all through the woods. So, a somewhat easy remedy to that is you fence it off and you turn goats loose. Goats will eat all of that. And
Really?
yeah, they'll eat all of that.
Goats eat poison ivy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really? I just learned this today. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Goats will eat anything. And they're, other than keeping them contained because they are escape artists, they're a really funny and easy animal to have around.
Wow. I don't know. The kid in me just got excited about that. Like, that's pretty nice. Now I want a goat for a pet. Like, who would have ever thought that? I feel like goats are always like shown as like the funny animal of some sort. I don't know. Like, that's hilarious though. That's good to know too, Kristy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Beautiful. Let's go back one more time.
Yeah.
Word association. I brought up homeowners association, and you said it could be a little bit of trouble or something like that. Can you elaborate on that based on your experience?
Yeah. So it depends, like I said, how you want to live. So if you want to live where nobody tells you what to do on your property and you can paint your house any color you want it to be, and you can plant flowers or plant trees any way that you want to, then an HOA is not for you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you're looking for a little bit less responsibility with your home, a lot of HOAs, those might cover like sidewalk shoveling. If it's a condo association, they might handle lawn and snow. And
Yeah.
that can be really nice if you've got a busy life, you don't want to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
HOAs can cover anything from how many and where you can plant trees in your yard to what color your shutters or siding can be, how many cars or what sort of vehicles you can have parked in your driveway. If
Mm.
you don't want the neighborhood full of campers or boats parked in the driveway or in the road or backyard, an HOA is probably going to cover that.
Mm.
Again, it really kind of depends on what is your ideal living situation. So
Got you.
A lot of my rural clients, you mentioned HOA, and they're like, oh, Lord, no. And then, other folks that are just looking for that easier living, a little bit more residential, they're fine with them.
Got you. I would imagine that you deal with USDA loans.
Yeah.
Programs
Yep.
of sorts too. Just very briefly, can you just give us a little bit of insight into your experience of clients using USDA loans? Is it a difficult process? How do sellers feel about buyers coming to them with USDA loans and any other information?
Yeah. So in realtor lingo, some of us, we call those govy loans, government-backed loans. So like RD, USDA, RD, FHA, VA. An RD loan is a fantastic program for someone looking to put very little down on a rural property. And some people think it has to be like a 10-acre spread. It really doesn't. There's an online RD map. I've had people use those on a house with a quarter acre, half acre. So don't think it has to be a farm.
Right.
They do have specific minimum property requirements. So you're going to want to make sure you're working with a lender. And I can certainly recommend lenders to my clients that are familiar with RD loans. You want to make sure you're working with a lender who understands what those minimum property requirements are. So anytime there's a government-backed loan, they're trying to encourage homeownership, and they want to make sure that you're buying a safe property. They don't want you buying something that has roof leaks, broken windows, peeling paint, because they worry about lead paint being exposed.
Right.
So some folks think they're trying to make it difficult for them. They're just trying to make sure you get in a good, safe home. As far as my selling clients, when presented with a government loan, I will present any and all offers that are brought to us. I'm not going to turn anything away. That's the decision of my client. And to be perfectly honest, yeah, if somebody comes to us with let's say $100,000 offer, and we have conventional versus an RD loan, chances are my seller is probably going to go with the conventional loan because there are less minimum property requirements, less restrictions as to what the property can be.
Gotcha.
That being said, I have had some sellers that, they want to give a leg up to somebody that's trying to get into a home, and they're like, let's give them a shot at it.
Okay. Interesting. That response just made me think of one more follow-up question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I've got all the time.
I've had agents who've shared conflicting thoughts on letters to sellers from buyers who are interested in properties. What are your thoughts?
It's a real slippery slope and not something I recommend. It's a real easy way to get sued. Real easy way for somebody. Yeah. Don't do them. It's a real easy way for another buyer to be disgruntled and say, you chose them because they have a family, don't have a family, they're a person of a certain race or ethnicity or certain economic class, anything. It's such a litigious society right now. It needs to be based off of numbers. It really does. So my job is to present numbers. So I usually take I do take these numbers, these offers. I put them on a net sheet and let the seller look through and choose. And where you might look at stuff, occupancy, earnest money down, what lender they're using, what title company they want to use, we'll factor that in. But most of the time is going to come down to numbers. So love letters, don't send them. Don't do them.
Yeah. And I just want to bring that up because literally it's been a common topic as of recently. But my initial thought, at first, I didn't think anything of it. I never thought, as me as a buyer, to send a letter. I never even knew that existed. But as I started to talk more, I found out that does happen sometimes. And then I thought, okay, maybe that is a great idea. But just recently, as I spoke to some agents and some guests on the closing table, I started to see the different perspective of it's being seen as discriminatory in a way by choosing
Yes.
someone off of their story in a way, and showing that it is actually illegal in some cases to actually send that letter. So I had no idea, but with that new perspective, I'm like, wow, it makes sense though. I
Yeah.
get it. I get it. So I just wanted you to share that experience, please.
Yeah. 10 years ago, they were very common. I mean,
Okay.
absolutely. But I'm also going to say 10 years ago, we did not frequently have multiple bid situations. So it wasn't really needed. As
Mm-hmm.
wild and fast paced as this market has been in the last few years, buyers are looking for any possible edge to get their offer accepted. But now we
Mm-hmm.
are starting to realize, you know, people can be very unethical when choosing a buyer.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's bad apples everywhere though, right?
Yes.
So you kind of just navigate and move forward from there. In your opinion, Kristy, what is the most challenging aspect of the real estate industry, excuse me? And can you recall a specific incident or situation that exemplifies this challenge and how you managed it?
Well, I'm going to say on a personal level for me, it is boundaries and not working 24/7. The work is there.
Mm,
The work is there 24/7 if you want it. I would have no problem working 6 a.m. to midnight every day because I do enjoy what I do. I was writing an offer last night at 9:30. But again, that word association, purchase agreement, those are fun and exciting. I love to do those. Um, but so for me, it's setting those boundaries and limits. And I've gotten a lot better with that. My phone typically shuts off at about 7 p.m. unless we have something going on, an active negotiation. So for me,
okay.
that as far as the industry itself goes, I'm going to say it really is lead generation and having to overcome that perception that real estate agents are car salesmen or sleazy, anything like that. That usually comes from
Mm,
somebody that's had a bad experience with an agent.
mm, mhm,
Um, I always tell prospective clients that I consider myself a real estate consultant. I'm here to help consult with them and help them achieve their real estate goals, whatever they are, investing, buying, selling. I'm here to do that. I don't care what house they buy or if they buy anything at all. If something
mhm.
changes, somebody loses a job, well, then maybe we're not buying a house right now or
Yeah.
selling. The lead generation is for new agents, you're going to be talking to everyone most likely for a handful of months before you start getting business, and that can be a little disheartening if you are short goal oriented. You need to be playing the long game.
Okay. Hmm. I like that you ended with that. I want to ask real quick. I know I'm kind of going
You're
over, but I
fine.
want
You're
to ask
fine.
this
I've
real
got time.
question. I've had a few agents. I'm not saying any names. Don't want to put anybody in a hot seat, but I've had a few agents, and this stood out to me, who expressed that in today's market, literally today, they're having a little bit of issues finding clients, getting listings and things of that nature. And I've heard this from 2 or 3 agents like recently within the last week. And we're talking about different markets also. So I don't know if you're experiencing this, maybe a slight decrease in listings or whatever the case may be, but for yourself or for other agents, how do you manage or maintain or get over humps like this? Because there's cycles, right?
Yeah.
How do you encourage yourself or other agents to get through humps like this?
You need to be really good with your money. When you get that commission check, when you get your paycheck, you need to make sure that is spread wherever you are, whether you've got 10 grand in the bank or 1 grand in the bank, whatever. You need to be planning ahead, that rainy day fund, having your bills paid. Absolutely number one, you have to do that. You have to set aside for taxes.
Yeah.
And there is a quote from a fellow agent in our office. He had brought up before, he said, when you doubt, do. So when you're doubting, oh my gosh, I don't have the amount of business I was wanting to have or thinking I would have. Take that thought right out of your head and go talk to people, go lead gen, go social media, whatever it is that you need to do, go talk. And it never fails. If you are doing that, round about the time you think, geez, oh, Pete, I don't have anything in the pipeline, all of a sudden your phone blows up with 6 new clients.
I promise you, every time. Talk to him, Kristy.
Yeah.
I agree. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but that
No,
I can relate. That hit the soul. That hit the soul. So great job. Great word too, Kristy. Thank you so much for pulling up a chair to the closing table. We appreciate you for sharing your knowledge. At this point, if you have any last words and or want to tell people how to reach out to you, please do so now.
Oh, thank you. So you can find me on all the socials, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. If you want to just text or call direct, that's 517-881-0712. Kristy Brooks at kw.com. You can find me anywhere. If you see me on the street, I would love for you to just, hey, hi, can we talk real estate? Heck yeah, we can.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Love it. Thank you so much, Kristy. Again, we appreciate you. For our YouTube audience, if you are watching and you got into this part in the video, do us both a favor and hit the like button, please, and thank you. Make sure you also share the content and subscribe to our channel. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, a 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. Kristy, I'm going to leave our audience with a question before they leave the chat. So this is for you, audience. What do you like or dislike about buying or listing a property in the rural community? Don't tell us now. Leave it in the comments below. Besides that, we'll talk to you next time.